All right. Okay. The weekend has just started for me. A lot of excitement this morning. But we're good, and we hope you're good too. Anthony, Amma, and Bragg. Why is Anthony so much excited?
I have no idea.
You were telling us about your witch hunting experience.
All right. The days of Daddy Lumba and Amachi there, those great guys there, they remind you of the good old days. I don't know if these days it is good, but our generation, we had a lot of excitement. The days of Apollo Theatre, the Tiptoe Lady and the rest. A lot of good stuff. Today, I don't know what you guys are into. The hip hop and the hip life, I don't know if it's really exciting for you. I don't know.
Well, I guess every generation comes with its own musical ears.
But
so it will be exciting.
Is it something you are proud of?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That's okay. No, okay.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
mean, they technically would be, impressed with what is being produced because that's what their generation is used to. And so,
so that is music.
Yeah, it is.
What is happening?
I mean,
now?
I can understand where you're coming from because my father asked me, can you hear anything? I'm like, yeah, I can try and hear.
I see.
You know,
Are there?
3 generations. Bride's a different generation.
I am a different generation, and so you are.
All right. Good morning once again, and thanks so much for your time. A wonderful Thursday morning. That's how we do it. We get you back into the old days, remind you of what you used to do. From now to 9 a.m., our job, as usual, is to excite you and put you into a weekend mood. Mine is starting this morning. I don't know about you, but tomorrow, weekend starts. But we will excite you.
I think that, adage of the good old days is not meant to be, really. It's wrong when we use it because ideally, the latter days are supposed to be better than the former.
Okay.
And so if we say the good old days, then it means we're not doing something right in the current day. And we have to critically look at it. That's what I'm saying. Because ideally, we shouldn't have it. Okay. The latter should be better than the former. And so if we refer to the good old days, then there's so much wrong with the current day, and we all have to sit up and work it out.
I
had a different argument, but
I've been able to, convince you.
You see, Anthony's trying to try. You see, I went, I think we were sitting down having a drink, and then there was conversation. And someone asked that, assuming the Amachi days, what is his name? Those guys, the Nakwame and Pedus and the rest, did not play the kind of songs they played. What song would have been played at our funerals? And it kept all of us thinking. So, assuming your father is dead, and then you are compelled to play the Shatawalis and the rest at the funeral grounds. I mean, it was going to be quite.
It would be chaotic. I can imagine the bride's funeral. We're playing.
And it got all of us thinking.
Yeah.
And indeed, those guys did some great job.
They
played songs for all categories of society or sector, entertainment, funerals, and the rest. So these days, I think the new ones have forgotten that there is a section of life called death, where when you get there, and which everyone will get there, we should be taken care of.
But perhaps what's wrong with playing Shatta at someone's funeral or Gringo?
When my father is
when you yourself,
when you're mourning the man Gringo, you play. It's time now for the news. The news comes up shortly, right after this. Good morning once again. My name is Anthony Jackson. Let's look at the headlines for this morning. Now, residents of 4 communities in Nsawam Adwajiri municipality demonstrate against former First Lady Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rollins, accusing her of unlawfully giving out their lands to a private developer. Food and Drugs Authority cautions pregnant and lactating mothers against the use of glutathione, a skin lightening product. The cedi hits a record low of 4 cedis 82 pesos to the dollar. And on the foreign front, oil falls as Trump urges OPEC to cut prices. Now, the Food and Drugs Authority has cautioned the general public, particularly pregnant and lactating mothers, against the use of glutathione, a skin lightening product on the market, which can cause serious health problems to both mother and baby. A news conference in Accra, Chief Executive Officer Delise Mimidakon confirmed the abuse of glutathione with the erroneous belief that it will lighten the skin of their unborn babies.
According to the Food and Drugs Authority, its intelligence and market surveillance have revealed that glutathione, the skin lightening product, has found its way onto the Ghanaian market. The product, which is being abused, has dosages ranging between 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams per tablet. Glutathione is known to possess health benefits, including raising energy levels, strengthening the immune system, and aiding in cellular when used as a dietary supplement at doses of 250 to 500 milligrams daily. Brands include Glutaprime, Phytocollagen, King of Whitening, Glutawhite, and Ivory Capsule Skin Enhancement Formula. Chief Executive Officer of the authority, Delise Mimidakon, described the trend as worrying.
No pregnant woman should be using any medicine at all, unless it is prescribed by their doctor. How much more a medicine whose safety has not been actually established for use in pregnant women. Pregnant women and all women actually should not use the product because the FDA has not registered the product. We don't know anything about those high levels of glutathione.
She said the authority is working together with the Pharmacy Council, the police and NACOP to deal with the abuse of tramadol and codeine-containing cough mixture.
We are collaborating more at the certain porous border posts, especially the Volta corridors, because we've realized that it looks like that is where more of the products are coming from.
The authority commended the media for the campaign against the dangers of abusing tramadol.
Now, the Ghana cedi has hit a record low over the last 48 hours, a situation analysts have attributed to the global pressures as investors continue to exit emerging market assets. The local currency has weakened since the start of May, pegged at 4 cedis 82 pesos to the dollar on Tuesday. The Association of Ghana Industries wants government to act swiftly to address the situation.
Cumulatively, the local currency depreciated by 5.3% in the first 6 months, compared to 3.3% in the first half of 2017. The central bank said last month it has significantly increased its weekly dollar sales to banks in support of the local currency. Ghana is in the final year of a $918 million credit deal signed in 2015 with the International Monetary Fund to reduce the budget deficit, inflation and debt, and to stabilize the local currency. Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Seth Chumakwabwa, says the association is concerned about measures being taken by government to deal with the current depreciation of the cedi.
Occasional depreciation in the cedi is normal. It happens once in a while, and therefore the current depreciation indeed is maybe of concern, but we don't see it as an alarming. We think that it can be contained within the current financial arrangement. We just need to monitor things and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. But occasional depreciation in the cedi, for me, is not too much of a worry. What is critical is that within the shortest possible time, it must be managed so that it doesn't overly depreciate.
Some commercial banks quote 4 cedis 83 pesos and 4 cedis 85 pesos when selling a dollar. This means the local currency depreciated by about 70 to 75 pesos over the last 1 week. The central bank has already assured that the changes in the exchange rate are temporary and the cedi will soon see some stability.
Still on the cedi, the Deputy Minority Leader of Parliament, James Kluche Aveji, has predicted a further decline if immediate measures are not taken.
Between January 2017 to today, or end of June, the value of the cedi has depreciated over 26%. So if the simple arithmetic is to subtract 4.8 from 3.8, you get a negative figure. Divided by 3.8 and multiply by 100, you get 26 and above. So that tells you the rate of the depreciation. The demand for the dollar is higher than the amount of dollar in the system. How do we get dollar into Ghana? Through what we also sell outside Ghana, like oil that we sell, like the cocoa that we sell, timber, whatever we sell. But currently, those products are not sufficient enough to give us more dollar. 2017, the price of the fall in value or the price of the dollar didn't go up quickly as we are seeing now because of the borrowing that they did in 2017 in dollars. Now the borrowing in dollar brought in dollar into the system. So it saw the supply of dollar. So they were able to meet the demand, and for that matter, the price was a bit stable. If they don't go to make a big borrowing and bring dollar into the system, it will go to about 5.1 or 5.2 by the close of the year.
Now, away from the city and still in Parliament, members have lauded the United States of America for its numerous aid to Ghana, but expect Ghanaian citizens in their country to be treated with respect and dignity. This was after MP for Ho made a statement on the floor to mark the 242nd independence anniversary of the United States.
7,000 Ghanaians, according to the U.S. Embassy in Ghana, are to be deported from the United States of America for various immigration offenses. About 63 Ghanaians who were recently deported were said to have been maltreated and brought back home under inhumane conditions. The issue was paramount on the floor of Parliament Wednesday when a statement was made to mark the United States' 242 years of independence.
And there are issues that our foreign policy with the United States must address. The way Ghanaian deportees are treated, we are concerned, and the U.S. must treat Ghanaians, whether deported or whatever, they must treat them with honor and dignity. We should demand that from them. As a country which respects those core values of the dignity of man, we expect them to do more.
They have traveled miles and miles, and today they are celebrated as the world's superpower. They fought for their civil liberties. They built a country that believed in the fundamental human rights and civil liberties of its people. So as we tighten our relationship with the world superpower, which is the United States of America, we should put the interests of our country first, the interests of Ghanaians first.
MP for Ho West, Emmanuel Bejra, who made the statement, noted Ghana and U.S. relations had been cordial, having assisted Ghana in many sectors of the economy.
The relationship between Ghana and the United States continues to foster development and has touched, changed, and even saved lives. The USAID, Mr. Speaker, grants through the education sector, which is geared towards the increase in literacy throughout the nation. The U.S. prioritized education at all levels and have funded the building and renovation of over 500 schools in Ghana in the last decade.
The MPs believed Ghana has a lot to learn from the U.S. In a separate development, Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwabena Owusu-Eduomi, was in Parliament to answer questions. MP for Ashaiman, Ernest Nogbe, wanted to know when the Ashaiman Road project will be completed.
The challenge on the project is that the contractor has not been paid for some of the RPCs that has been raised. The government is also making frantic efforts in raising monies to pay for projects funded from the Consolidated Fund.
Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs was also in the House, and he assured the MPs of an incident-free Ga Homowo festival. He said there is no chieftaincy litigation in Gamashi and none before the National House of Chiefs.
Now, custodians from 4 adjoining communities in the Nsawam Adwejiri municipality of the Eastern region have petitioned government to return land it acquired through an executive instrument for pineapple cultivation. In a protest, they accused the former First Lady, Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rollins, of unlawfully giving out part of the land to a private developer.
Early hours of Wednesday, and residents of the 4 adjoining communities, namely Adwejiri, Oreku, Ntwaso and Akwemu are protesting. It is to register their displeasure over the acquisition of a 635.20 acres of land by the erstwhile Supreme Military Council in 1977 to cultivate pineapples for the Nsawam cannery at the time of its establishment. But the landowners claim an additional 135.54 acres was later added without the backing of any instrument, increasing the total land size to 770.74 acres. They claimed no compensation had been paid and the land remained fallow since its acquisition. The Nsawam cannery was later sold to Caridem Development Company, owned by former First Lady Nana Kunedu Ajman Rawlings. The custodians alleged that on October 4, 2013, the Eastern Regional Office of the Lands Commission leased the said land to former First Lady over a 50-year period at an annual rate of 3,850 cedis, which translates to about 5 cedis per acre annually. They further accused the former First Lady of giving out the land to Kwans, an estate developer, on their blind side amidst threats from land gas. Petitioning government through the Nsawam Adwajiri Municipal Chief Executive, spokesperson and head of family of Ntwaso, Benjamin Dowuna, demanded a new arrangement with government.
Our hands have been twisted before us. Every month we do search at Koforidua, and there's no one search that proves that this land has been released and given to Kunedu and others. Still, it's executive instrument. So we are pleading with the government, the present government, and the next government that will come, to leave our land successful to us.
The MCE, Isaac Wabin, outlined measures adopted by the Assembly to resolve the issue.
I and the police commander and his team went to the developer. Then we also went to the Nananum that they should hold on. The case is at the judiciary. If they have something to do, it shouldn't be a violent manner. They should go to court and even put an injunction on the land till they finish the adjudication.
The landowners have given government a 1-week ultimatum to return the land since it is not serving its intended purpose.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has left Ghana for a state visit to the Republic of South Africa. The visit is at the invitation of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The visit is to deepen further the already strong relations that exist between the two countries. President Akufo-Addo will also use the visit to explore other areas of cooperation to their mutual benefit. The president will return home Friday, July 6. Now, Ghana, through SIC Insurance Company, has signed a memorandum of understanding between Burkina Faso Chamber of Commerce on a single transit guarantee scheme to promote free movement of goods within the sub-region. The agreement will allow the two countries to transport goods by road from one customs office to another, exempt of duties and taxes.
In order to promote the free movement of goods within the sub-region, the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, adopted, among other protocols, convention relating to the interstate road transit of goods and a supplementary convention establishing a community guarantee mechanisms to facilitate the movement of goods in the West Africa sub-region. The protocol enjoined member states to adopt a community guarantee scheme that allows the transportation of goods by road from one customs office in a member state to customs office in another member state, exempt of duties, taxes and restrictions while in transit. To kickstart the implementation of the single transit guarantee scheme on the Ghana-Burkina Faso corridor, Ghana, through SIC Insurance Company, has signed a memorandum of understanding within the Burkina Faso Chamber of Commerce on a single transit guarantee scheme to promote free movement of goods within the sub-region.
The implementation of the single transit guarantee scheme will help remove the opportunities presently exploited by some middlemen at our ports who use fake tax identification numbers to clear goods for transit and in turn divert them onto the local market.
The Burkina Faso Deputy Managing Director of Chamber of Commerce, Emmanuel Yoda, is confident the collaboration among the sister countries will bring economic liberation and also foster unity among member countries. The Deputy Commissioner General of SEBS in charge of operations at the Ghana Revenue Authority, said the initiative will improve efficiency in customs operations and bring relief to traders and shippers by curbing cargo theft and help seal loopholes in the system.
But there are some recalcitrant traders who use transit as a decoy to smuggle goods into the country. This single guarantee system, I think, will seal all the loopholes and there won't be any leakages, so that government will secure the needed revenue, because goods will no longer be sold at cheaper prices in the country.
And our Court of Appeal has dismissed an application by the National Communications Authority seeking to delay the implementation of an order preventing the authority from, among others, entering into any third-party contracts. This development means that government would be in contempt of court if it continues to implement the Common Platform for Revenue Monitoring, for which it has awarded a contract to the controversial Kelny GVG worth $89 million. The court has also awarded costs of 2,000 Ghana cedis against the government entities. In December 2017, Suba Info Solutions dragged the NCA and the Ghana Revenue Authority to court over the termination of a similar service agreement from 2015. Suba contended that the termination was unlawful. Pending the determination of the substantive case, Suba was also granted an application for an injunction on the award of contracts to third parties by the NCA in February 2018. Now, pupils of the Kadu DA Basic School in the Pru East District of the Bonohafu region have been performing creditably despite the school's infrastructural and logistical challenges. It took the determination and hard work of the headmaster 9 years to ensure standards improved.
Kadwe is one of the settler island communities near Yeji in the Pru East District capital of the Bonohafu region. Like any other fishing community, education is not a priority in most homes, as children must support fishing activities at all costs. As for homes with trafficked child laborers, the least said about education, the better. Additionally, teachers refuse posting to the area due to its inaccessibility and lack of accommodation. However, the post of Enokuba in Dibasum to head the Kadwe DA Basic School 9 years ago changed the situation. Without any swimming skills, Enoch accepted the challenge.
There are so many times you see teachers going elsewhere to the office to request for transfer, depending upon the situation on the ground. But I said, these children are Ghanaians, and the fact that I'm to serve the country, Ghana, wherever I am, no matter the challenge, I'm there for the job.
In spite of infrastructural challenges and lack of teaching materials, Enoch Kuba in Dibasum remained resolute, went from house to house preaching the importance of education while encouraging fellow teachers to remain in the community.
There are so many things that I came to meet here. When I came here, teachers were not regular in school and a whole lot of things. But when I came, I took my lap on the ground and I made sure that the teachers come to school as required.
The Kadwe DA Basic is performing creditably at all levels.
From KG1 to P6, we have 8 classes, but we are now 6. And that has helped the performance of the children. I quite remember we took circuit quiz competition for primary school, and my school took 3rd in the competition.
9 years on, school still lacks infrastructure, but enrollment and academic performance have improved. Now, the school can boast of a teacher's bungalow and life jackets to ensure safety on the lake, thanks to an oil company and the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. Their greatest desire is an improved infrastructure and furniture to boost teaching and learning.
Now, only 55 out of the 155 ambulances countrywide are functional, affecting emergency healthcare delivery. Head of operations at the National Ambulance Service, Foster Anson Brejan, says Ghana's current population, about 500 ambulances, are required to augment emergency services.
There are 130 ambulance stations across the country. The Eastern region tops with 18, and the Upper East region with the least of 7. According to the head of operations at the National Ambulance Service, a new ambulance should be replaced after 5 years. However, the service still relies on old ambulances with a high maintenance cost.
The old ambulances, which are not very strong and they break down very often. So the situation we find ourselves requires that as soon as possible, new ambulances need to be procured to augment the fleet that we have now.
An ambulance station requires 25 well-trained personnel, but that is not the case here in Ghana.
Some are 10, maximum is about 13 or 14, and some are even less than 10, because depending on the location.
30 out of 200 ambulances procured by the Health Ministry were rejected by the service for not meeting the right specifications.
When the change of government came and the new minister also came, he has actually gone to inspect them, and he has also requested that because of the procurement processes, how the whole thing went about, then he's referred the issue to IOCO to investigate.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoudou Bamia in April this year announced government has initiated processes to provide 275 ambulances to boost the operations of the National Ambulance Service.
Ministry for Special Development and Special Initiatives, they are actually championing the procurement of those ambulances. So I know they've come for specifications. We believe that by the end of the year, those ambulances will be ready and be handed over to the National Ambulance Service.
But what measures have been taken on recruitment of staff?
We got clearance to train 577 new personnel. We are working on the final list so that we hope that by the end of this month, the training will start.
Now let's do some international stories. Oil prices fell on Thursday after U.S. President Donald Trump sent a strident tweet demanding the OPEC cut prices for crude. The escalating trade row between Washington and Beijing also cast a shadow over markets, with China warning it could introduce duties on U.S. crude imports at an yet unspecified date. Trump on Wednesday accused the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, of driving up fuel prices. The OPEC monopoly must remember that gas prices are up. They are doing little to help, Trump wrote on his personal Twitter account. And that's it for the news for this morning. Newday returns shortly after this break.
Well, it's time for us to do the newspaper headlines. We'll start off with Business Finder. It says nuclear energy is key to Ghana's industrialization. Also, appeals court throws out NCA over Suba suit. Then Ghana Post MD chairs West African Postal Conference. Then finally, strong US dollar increases credit risk. That's coming from Moody's. Is telling Ghanaians that the strong US dollar may affect us. Also, will the 2018 mid-year review settle the 7 billion Ghana cedi liability question? Government adds new taxes to fill the revenue gaps that we already have. Then also the city's woes resurface. Then Activa introduces green renewable insurance package. These are the stories on the front page of BNFT. Ghanaian Times also has some interesting stories. It says, outcome of U.S. Commerce Secretary's visit, Ghana and U.S. sign 11 investment pacts, 4 business opportunities and partnerships. Also, the president honors 10 foreign service pioneers. Then charges chasing 3 soldiers for brutalizing 4 children. Then contractors have threatened to hit the streets over unpaid arrears. Then president also departs to South Africa for a state visit. These are the stories on the front of Ghanaian Times. Daily Guide coming in says NDC boy chases 2 EC deputies. Then also the court has stopped the Kelny GVG deal. We'll get into that. Then Ghana Post boss also leads WAPCO. Then 1 constituency, 1 bus. Blaze MPP buses have finally arrived. We'll talk about that when we sit down to discuss the stories on the front pages of the newspapers. Daily Graphic also says, is it Blay or in team? As MPP goes to polls on Saturday, and there are the pictures of some aspiring national chairmen. Then also government honors first 10 career diplomats. Then will 2018 mid-year review settle the 7 billion liability question? Again, is showing there. Then at the National Science and Math Quiz, St. Peter's was in Adisadel battle for gold. These are the stories on our news.
Well, a lot of stories this morning, the weekend, and yet, sure, the NPP Congress will certainly throw out a lot of stories. But hey, so Koforidua is all set and ready. And the front page of the Daily Graphic tells it all. I mean, these congresses are supposed to get officers who will run the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. My worry about politics in this direction is where the same family seem to be engaged in biting each other. So if you take a look at the Daily Graphic, for instance, on page 17, NPP conference not about who has money. That's Dr. Ba, Dr. Richard Amakuba, who is vying for the chairmanship. And then in team condemns vote buying by Blay. And you can, I mean, think about the accusations left and right, who has paid money and stuff like that. The point is, how come a family, and this is not limited to the NPP alone,
the cats across board,
a family getting into a battle would want to bite at each other. Now, when you attend political party meetings, okay, you are told that when you throw these arsenals, then the opposition picks up these arsenals and use them against you. So I am wondering why they want to draw attention to these things through or in the media. It's a family
It's just
thing.
that they
What
never
do you
learn.
want to
I mean,
do?
politicians never learn, because we know right from the scratch, when you have an argument with an opposition and you know, within yourselves, you fight, then you only open yourselves up for more arsenals to be thrown against you. This includes those within your camp and those outside your camp. And so you're actually weakening your defenses. I mean, when it comes to this whole vote buying by Blay and back and forth, what they fail to realize is right now we are contesting against each other, so we're opponents. But we're also alleging against you. We're also telling the outside world what really is going on within. And it doesn't help them at the end, because really, if after saying all these, giving allegations, let's say it comes out that Mr. Freddie Blay wins, are you, Mr. 19, going to support him? You would have to. You would have to work with him to be able to move the party forward. And then it means you are just insulting your, followers, because you're saying, even though I don't agree with his tactics, if he wins, I would go with him. And what does it mean to those who follow you? It doesn't send out any good signal. So I'm wishing they stop these, allegations and back and forth. Just go, have your elections, let's see who wins, and move your party forward. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what they're supposed to be doing.
If I were, I mean, if I have any way to sanitize politics, one thing is to base elections on ideas. I mean, I in the course of the campaign, I haven't heard anything about how to fund parties. Okay, Mr. Blay is suggesting that the vehicles will be used by the constituencies and they will be run on commercial basis, and then the monies will go back to constituencies. Fine, brilliant idea. But I wish the conversation had been more on financing political parties, how to mobilize grassroots and stuff like that. But accusations of accusations, well, let's see what happens. The Saturday will determine.
It will. But also on Daily Guide, we talk about this court stopping the Kelny GVG deal. And I guess that is very central in all the discussions, because, again, it's our money going to waste. Right, as this case has been stopped, mainly because the Suba Info Solutions issue hasn't been dealt with, and the court is asking that that case be dealt with before we progress onto the Kelny GVG deal. But in the meantime, from my understanding, we'll still be paying Kelny GVG for what we have signed. Isn't that so?
I see. Interesting.
So it puts us in a fix as to what to exactly do when it comes to this thing. But I mean, in the meantime also, I'm waiting to hear the information concerning the documents, the tender documents being released to the NGOs and the, you know, organizations that are demanding for it, so that we can probe further into exactly what went wrong with the Kelny GVG deal. But Super, I mean, they still have an issue, and I'm wondering why that wasn't dealt with before even NCA came to take over into this Kelny GVG. Because government is a continuum. You can't say that because a particular government went out of power, the Suba issue would not, you know, will just go away. It still remains. So ideally, I think that should have been dealt with, and I'm wondering why that never came up before the Kelny GVG. So if Kelny GVG's issue hadn't come up, does it mean the Suba issue would have just been thrown in the back shelf? You know, these are some of the questions that come to play when these issues come up in the stories.
I'm sure the coalition of civil society organizations who are demanding a lot more transparency in what is happening will this morning or yesterday when the story broke be very excited.
Right.
Of course, questions have started coming. One key question is we're told that we're already paying $1.5 million to this company. And now that the court has ordered that the contract be suspended until the substantive issue is dealt with, what happens to the monies to be paid, or that if it has been paid? The court has spoken. Let's see how it goes. The substantive case is still there. Imani and Co are battling the whole situation. I am hoping that whatever it is that is there is known. But you see, I am not happy at the way this whole thing is running. I think that when civil society asks questions, public officials must be open to answer them. After all, you see, the key thing is that they are asking questions, and these questions are in the minds of the public. They are trying to suggest that certain things have been done wrong. Your job as a public official is to then open up so that what the questions being asked are answered. So, for instance, when the civil society said, give us the tender documents, let us study and see what's in there. And then they were back and forth until a court said, give those documents out. The public is asking questions. Why do you want to keep those documents? Okay, so our public officials must be open. I am happy that the court is ruled on this. Let us see what happens. I'm sure the coalition will very soon come out, and then we'll see the end of it. But I'm sure this case isn't dying today. It's going to be a long battle for us in the course of the days and weeks to come.
The CD is also depreciating gradually, steadily, and I think it's worrying to most people.
We have 4.8 now.
Yeah, we are dipping down. I mean, we started off good. Everyone kept talking about how the CD was appreciating, was stable, and was doing well, and we're wondering. But all the factors that have been, you know, attributed to this depreciation are external, and so when people call on government, I'm wondering exactly what they're supposed to do and how best they're going to be able to, you know, change things or arrange so that the city doesn't depreciate any further. Because we hear it's because U.S. interest rates are going up, it's because the oil prices have increased, and so I'm wondering if it's international, how do you fix those issues? But if there are local things that we can fix, of course, we're looking at them doing that, because at the end of the day, it is the ordinary person, you and I, the end user, who suffer for it.
Emma, I think that we had the president of the Association of Ghana Industries saying that the CD is fast dropping, but he says it is not worrying. What he wants to be done is to quickly see officials try and find a way out to stop it from further dropping. If you listen to the Bank of Ghana, it says what is happening is temporary and that it can be dealt with. The finance minister has spoken and said that, in fact, even the vice president has spoken about it and said it is temporary. We will get to the bottom of it. On the other side, you find people suggesting that not enough is being done to shore up the city. Yesterday, I heard an official, a lecturer for the University of Ghana Business School, suggesting that the reasons why the city, one of the reasons is that government is refusing to pay for, let me put it, pay those engaged in putting up infrastructure. So, for instance, contractors come into sharp focus. Now, he said that if we see infrastructure springing up, it could shore up the value of the city. Right. Now, he said because government has taken a setback on building of infrastructure, because perhaps it has not fully started, right, it is putting a lot of pressure on the city. If you read the Business and Financial Times, certain investment, for instance, some IPOs on the stock exchange in the past few days, right, is also mentioned as one of the reasons why the city seemed to be wobbling. I am only hoping that all those involved in managing our city will sit down. Yesterday, you heard the opposition NDC in Parliament also raising concerns. The key thing here is that how do we sit down, okay, and accept that the city is dropping, and these are the measures to put in to ensure that the city stabilizes. The back and forth isn't helping. Let us see that indeed something is being done. The assurances we are getting that something is being done should work, so that we will see the city beginning to see, because we're gradually getting to Christmas. Yeah. And this is the time those who are into exports will buy more in stock for Christmas. Now, if you are using this to buy, it means that when they are selling in Christmas, they will price what they are selling based on the dollar rate they bought their stock with. And that means that the prices are likely to go up. So let's see some efforts being done to see the city stabilize.
Anyway, but some stories don't make headlines, but I'm very interested in the health one, the one about glutathione, FDA, you know, going out to talk about glutathione and
it's in the Daily Graphic.
And its abuse, yes.
FDA warning against use of bleaching pills, creams, and injectables. Page 16 of Daily Graphic has it.
Right, so it's very worrying because the idea or the trend of trying to look fair, bleaching yourself to look fair, and the effects that come with it. Initially, you may think it's just okay, but many years down the line, it could have so many effects on your body, your skin, your organs, and you come to the hospital with it and you be suffering for it. And my problem is even the unborn children, that the pregnant women who use it are attempting to make their children look fair. Why would you want to give birth to a fair child when you yourself are dark? Doesn't mean you don't believe in the power of the color of your skin, or you have an inferiority complex. When I hear these things, I'm very worried, because it means some people we still live in that primitive world where we think the black skin is inferior to the fair or white skin. And why should it be? Is it that we're not talking enough, we're not empowering people enough to believe in ourselves? Otherwise, it beats my imagination why I would want, as a dark person, to give birth to a white child. I still don't get it right.
But honestly, the lighter side of this thing, the FDA is warning, but the lighter side is, okay, so if you want to have a baby who has a fair skin, then look for people like us. We'll give you that baby.
Like who?
Like those of us with
Indeed, you said on the lighter side, so I'll just laugh at that.
Those of us with fair skins, so that the baby will come.
Your skin doesn't, they want the white. Like Obroni, you know, fair-colored white person. And that's why would you want to look like
have to cross the borders and
they should. I think if that's what you want. But why do you even want to give your unborn child that problem, that issue? Why don't you take it upon yourself? If you want to be fair and you are grown enough and you want to die quickly, that's fine. But you shouldn't have the child paying for your sins.
And so the FDA again is suggesting that they are warning mothers not to use, but the product is already on the market. So how do we deal with it? Cautioning the public against it is good.
And educating them on the effects.
I mean, it is not all of us. My grandmother in the village might not get to hear this, or that young lady in the village who's pregnant might not get to hear this news about the product. And so how do we clear them from the market? Is it enough to just warn people against it? I am sure that they will not only warn, but after the press conference yesterday, they will move out there and check it. If you read the story, and it says that it is monitoring the borders, and they're also engaging in market surveillance across the country to deal with the distributors. Let's hope that the swoops they are making will get the product off our shelves and save our people from this menace. But it's good.
Anyway.
That's it.
So we've touched on the headlines now, but we have a throwback for you as a throwback
But
Thursday.
even before that, the big one is today.
Oh,
so
it is.
St. Peter's, West Africa Senior High School and Adisado College.
Right, maybe I was selective in choosing that story because my school is not part, so I don't want to even
you guys, Charlie, they did throw you long ago.
Oh, no. Please, don't bring yourself. Right, what school did you attend?
Do
they feature
I
the
went
National
to
Science
Bremen
and Mathematics?
Secondary
So they
School.
don't come to National Science and Mathematics?
We'll come.
But you should encourage them.
Yeah,
They
we'll
should,
come.
because it's just
We'll
like the World Cup, where other countries we didn't expect
Are
to
now
typically
really
be there,
we'll
doing well and making.
We'll come.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll come. Look, look. The so-called big boys who are making noise, you leave them. Let them make the noise. When we wake up and we start rising, they will see. But that's a big one today. And kudos to those three schools, St. Peter's, WAS, and Adisco. Great stuff. Even in the final, I think they are winners. And even all those who participated, they are winners too. We hope to see the best school today. But St. Peter's is from Eastern Region, Kwatia?
Yes, it is.
Okay, then WAS, Accra, and then Central. So Eastern, Central, and Greater Accra. Yeah. Let's see who gets the nod today.
Anyway, so let's go back to Daddy Lumba and Asho.
All right, now the newspapers are here. The BNF this morning says cities woes resurface. The story is captured on page 2. And will the 2018 media review settle the 7 billion Ghana cedi liability question? Former Finance Minister's photograph is here. The Finder, Business Finder, says appeals court throws out NCA over Suba suit. Nuclear energy is key to Ghana's industrialization, and strong US dollar increases credit risk. That's according to Moody's. The Daily Guide this morning, NDC boy chases 2 EC deputies. Court stops Kelny GVG deal. Photograph of the Communications Minister's photograph here. And one constituency, one bus. Blaze NPP buses land. You can see photographs of the buses and officials there. Ghana Post Board leads WAPCO. The Daily Graphic has photographs of the 3 aspiring chairpersons of the NPP, Mr. Freddie Blay, Dr. Richard Amakuba, and Mr. Stephen Tim. And is it Blay or in Tim as NPP goes to the polls on Saturday? That's the big one on the Daily Graphic. Government honors first 10 career diplomats, and the National Science and Quiz competition, the final is on St. Peter's, WAS, and Adisado. The Times, Ghana-US signed 11 investment pact for business opportunities and partnerships. Contractors threaten to hit streets over unpaid contracts. President departed to South Africa for state visit. Those are some of the stories on the Ghanaian Times. My guest this morning is a former Member of Parliament for Nanto, former Deputy Trades and Industry Minister, Honorable Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Good morning.
Good morning. So
hope
why,
you are doing
why,
good.
Why the honorable again?
Oh, but once an honorable, always.
No, once a comrade, always a comrade.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your time. I'm expecting the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, John Kumar, to join us. Thanks for staying there. Now, let's start the conversation this morning. We can quickly take a look at the NPP Congress whilst we wait for Mr. Kumar to join it. The story on page 3 says interesting contest awaits the NPP as the ruling party goes to the polls Saturday to elect national officers for the next 4 years. The party has scheduled its annual delegate conference in Koforidua, and that's the highest decision-making body of the party, followed by the National Council and the National Executive Committee. The NPP is undertaking this at a time they are in government. In 2016, President Nana was declared winner with an overwhelming margin of victory ever recorded in the 4th Republican dispensation. The party has also won an emphatic victory in the parliamentary elections. In all, over 6,000 delegates are expected in Koforidua. So far, 41 candidates who have been vetted and certified to contest the national positions of the party have gone on campaign. Now, the chairmanship race has acting chairman, Mr. Amable, Mr. Steve Nayesu Tim as clear front runners. Dr. Richard Amakuba is the second on the ballot paper. It's also a bit, and as declared, with money or no money, I will win the national chairmanship. For other positions also being contested, a lot of them, and this is what is expected in Koforidua over the weekend. All right, so that's the contest. Comrade, the NPP embarks on this national final one. How do you see this contest?
Well, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and your good self with your beautiful African tie.
I'm grateful.
I think you are noted for wearing African ties. I remember sometime you guys decided to wear African print.
Right.
It was beautiful. I'm wondering why you guys abandoned that.
Okay. We should go back to it?
Yes, it was beautiful.
Okay.
And I thought that you would continue.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of response you got from your viewing public, but it was beautiful.
It was for the Ghana month.
The Ghana month, yes.
But you want us to go back to it?
Yes, I think it was beautiful. I mean, that makes you unique and that makes you stand out, you know, in the midst of other, you know, competitors in this TV and radio industry. Let me say that it's good that political parties embark on such democratic journeys. It is part of the constitutional obligation of political parties and, of course, the Constitution of Ghana that people or officers are elected to contest elections. And the MPP is doing this. So we can only pray that they have a very successful and peaceful Congress. As to who stands tall, as to who wins the elections, that is left to the delegates who would have the right to vote to determine who would. I have no doubt at all about what the delegates of the MPP are looking forward to. It is amazing that Mr. Freddie Blay, the acting national chairman, who indeed became a national chairman, if you like, out of default, it was as a result of President Nanado and his team booting out the then legitimately elected national chairman in the person of Mr. Paul Afoko and the national secretary in the person of Mr. Kobna Yebua, you know, who were the chairman and the secretary.
You don't think that decision was done by the highest decision making of the body?
There were a lot of contests. There were a lot of challenges with regards to the processes leading to that, you know, decision taken. But hey, the Gombes have a proverb: "Naizan Apollo Labgoni." If you throw your frog over the wall, you don't follow to find out how the frog has landed or not. That is none of your business. But what is of importance has to do with the story that the acting national chairman is distributing 275 buses. I mean, frankly speaking, I thought it was a joke. I never believed the story was true. Now the question is, on what basis is he doing that? Let no one tell me that, oh yes, there is nothing wrong. He said he has done that through the banks. I mean, what tax obligation, you know, therein in the delivery of those vehicles? And is it not interesting that those buses are distributed at this material moment when they are about to go to Congress to determine who becomes the national chairman of the NPP? Now, if you have a person who in opposition didn't buy such, it doesn't matter what kind of financial arrangement that is put in place. He couldn't do that in opposition. Yet in government, he is doing that. This is the absolute demonstration of profligate. And I think that the good people of this country are watching. If the NDC or any national chairman of the NDC attempted even buying 5 buses, you would have found the so-called moral society, they would have raised issues about some of these things happening. At a time when we don't have ambulances for our hospitals, the national chairman is buying 275 buses at a time.
But that's a party resources.
I see. I thought that the party. I thought that the party is also a party in government. By the way, we are not told it's party resources. He's not buying those buses with the party money. If he's buying those buses with the party's money, then one raises question whether he is putting himself in a better position than the other contender, because he himself is going to be contested. Now, if it is the party that is buying it, why should the party buy it at this material moment? And in making those presentations, is it going to be done with other contenders? And by the way, he indicated that he was going to provide each of the constituency with a bus. Frankly speaking, I thought it was a joke. I was shocked to read through social media and in some of the tabloids that he has actually, those buses have actually landed. And I asked that simple question, that in opposition he couldn't buy these buses, yet in government he's doing that. When you talk, they say, oh, it's an arrangement. An arrangement with what financial capacity? And on what basis will any bank even extend such loans? What has been the collateral? Is it the collateral of the party, or it is personal collateral that is provided to give these buses to those people? One other very important thing has to do with why is it that these things are happening yet no one seems to care? No one seems to worry. At a time when we don't have even beds at the hospitals, at the time when indeed we are being told by Ochihene, you know, that our ex-vice president, who indeed unfortunately passed away, that there wasn't even an ambulance to convey him. At a time when people are dying every single day without ambulances, at a time when accidents occur, we don't have that. We have a party chairman and a party that claimed that they were coming to protect the public purse, buying 275 buses for each of the constituencies.
You are still insisting that he can't use his private resources to buy cars for his party?
No, I'm not. He can't use what?
His private resources to buy.
Interestingly, the private resources have been gotten after their government or their party has. Why is it that he never did that? No, I'm saying that why is it that they never did that when he was in opposition? Granted that he went through the processes, he got a bank to do that. Is it not an irony that the banks are comfortable now to extend such facilities to him when he is the chairman of the ruling government? There are a lot of questions. But granted that, look, this thing, he got it from his own money. Isn't it shocking that at a time when we don't have ambulances, the extent to which you have very powerful traditional leaders themselves acknowledging to the fact that we don't have ambulances, this man is doing this. The people of this country are watching. I know one interesting thing. The MPP is not focused on providing bread and butter. They are not interested in the young people who were deceived, who were lied to, that they were going to create the needed jobs and the jobs that are not available. They are not interested in the security decay where we live in fear in our societies. They are not interested at a time when the value of our currency, the cedi, is all-time record low. By the way, the cedi has become a fugitive. They are not interested in that. The focus of the NPP is how do we win the 2020 elections, even with foul means by which they are engaged in this so-called Ghana card. I think for me, that is extremely worrying. 275 buses. We need to know how much they were bought. We need to know how much taxes he paid on each of the buses. And we need to know the kinds of arrangement. Now, you are not buying it just as a private person. You are buying it for the purposes of a political party. So that makes it a public interest issue. We need to know some of this.
I'm grateful. Let me introduce my next guest. Mr. John Kumar is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. John, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you are doing great.
I'm doing well.
Thanks for joining us.
Good morning to my good friend Murtala.
Murtala, John Kumar and Abibi.
My name is not Murtala, it's Murtala.
Okay, all right. Welcome once again. So the big one on the front page of the Daily Graphic is it a Blay or Intim as NPP goes to the polls? Already, Mr. Intim is raising some concerns. He is condemning what he calls vote buy. He's raising the issue of the vehicles as vote buying. That is what he said. But he himself is acknowledging in the story that somewhere in the course of the party's development, he has also bought some vehicles, 14 of them, before. And those are the issues. But the build up to the Congress and the concerns, Dr. Amakoba says, money or no money, a win. Mr. Tim is condemning vote buying. How do you react to these?
Yes, let me say good morning to viewers too. Before I get to the details of what has been put out there, I think Murtala kept stressing we don't have ambulance, we don't have ambulance. First of all, the acting chairman of the NPP is not government of Ghana.
Right.
And when he and his party got the opportunity to rule this country for 8 years, and they had opportunity to buy ambulances for Ghana, they wasted nearly $90 million importing mere sprinter buses with no facilities in them. I'm told those buses are parked somewhere. So I wonder the kind of moral justification that he has this morning to tell Ghanaians that we don't have ambulances. Why would we have ambulances when you were paying $58 million to Oyombe? The judgment debts in Isopoton and all the monies that you wasted, those were public funds. You could speak to it. If an individual thinks that he can raise funds, and I tell you, one of the key criteria in leadership is your ability to raise resources. It does not necessarily have to come from your personal pockets. And Murtala has run as an MP before. He understands it. I have also contested elections before. In fact, from our childhood, we've been contesting elections. And he knows that no single individual can run in a campaign from his personal pockets. You have to be supported. So now to what Mr. Freddie Blair has done. He thinks that he can raise resources to promote the various constituency offices that we have in this country. And let me tell you, if you go to every constituency in this country, one of their first concerns is how the party can be run, you know, sometimes in the absence of the member of parliament where we have MPs, is basically the member of parliament who has to foot every bill. And so some of the MPs on their own, I know today as we speak, some of the MPs even buy taxis, give it to their constituents to run on work and pay. It's not the first time we are hearing that an individual is buying vehicles for political activists to run it and to pay it back. First of all, it's not free. He has told everybody that this is not free arrangement. And he's saying that all of a sudden banks are comfortable to deal with Mr. Freddie Blair. Who told him so? Mr. Freddie Blair is an astute businessman in this country. He has run Daily Guide all this while. He's been a Speaker of Parliament. He's a learned person with his own chambers. So don't talk as if you are talking about somebody who doesn't have any background. And what do you need? If a bank, even as you sit here, you can even walk to any bank to ask for a leasing arrangement where the bank will pay the truck for you. But in most cases, they register in your joint names until you have fully repaid the cost of the vehicle. This is done to everybody. The only difference is that he has done it on a larger scale, and then he's asking the people to take the vehicles, run with it for a year or two commercially, and pay for it. Whilst you are running it, you are also having certain amount of income. What is big deal about this? I don't see the big deal in it. People are doing it with taxes in their constituencies, members of parliament, including, I'm sure, even NDC members of parliament. The one the NDC introduced, the tricycles, there's a name for it.
Motoking. The motoking.
Is it the motoking? Most of your MPs took it and gave it to your constituents when they didn't pay a penny for it.
That's not true.
It is true. Go and check.
Now why are you not prosecuting them?
Oh, but why? Must you prosecute everything?
Yes,
we are recovering most of them. I went to the Maslog office and some of them have been recovered.
Which ones?
So, you see, the NDC is so hypocritical. He himself, when he was a member of parliament, I'm sure he was taking some of these facilities for his people. If you have not, it's not. If you take it, it's not illegal. If you take it, it's not illegal. And there's nothing unreasonable about it. All his chants and rants that he made this morning, he could not point to one illegality about what has been done. If you can say that he had no basis in law or in process, in procedure to have acquired all these cars, then you let us know. But if somebody says, I've gone through bank to secure funding arrangement for 275 buses, and this is for 275 constituencies that we have in this country. These buses that he's complaining, we don't have ambulances. In the constituencies where they are going to run, in his own former constituency, well, it's still your constituency, Zenanton, when this bus goes there and somebody is sick, instead of putting him on a motorbike or bicycle, which is usually the case when we see on TV in most of these constituencies up north, they will beg the constituency executives to carry it, to carry sick people in those buses to support the constituent. So let us not create the impression that everything somebody does is wrong. And I'm happy when you said that, Mr. Ntim said.
Yeah, he said
he himself
vote buying.
Well, today he says it's vote buying. But he, at the same time, is saying that in 2004, he also donated 14 buses to the party. And he was contesting in 2005. Was that one to vote buying? I mean, there's no compulsion that if a constituency receives the bus, he's going to vote for you. Where is that?
But is it fair?
It's not the first time that our party chairmen are promising buses. In fact, Paul Afoko promised one pickup for every constituency before the 2016 elections. But he didn't deliver. So this is not the first time a national chairman of our party is promising vehicles or buses.
To go into a contest and this is the time to distribute buses to the very delegates who make the choice. Is it fair? I mean,
I don't understand when we say, is it fair? What is wrong about helping is there a timeline when you have to resource a constituency or what?
Great. Now, you go into a contest. We talk about, abuse of incumbency. And John, you know, the simple question is, there's a contest. The very people who are the decision makers are in the constituencies. Now, one person has the opportunity to donate something. I'm only asking, is it
whether
fair
it is fair
to do that? Yes.
I want to answer with another question.
Right.
When President Nana Addo was contesting President Mahama, I think it was 2012, President Mahama was sharing I-10 and laptops. Was it fair?
To who?
To people in this country. And chiefs, land cruisers to chiefs in this country. Prados.
So
was it fair? And yet he lost the elections. I'm coming. It will not matter whether it is fair or not fair.
You don't want to answer whether it's fair or not.
Yeah, it's not necessary to answer whether it is fair or not. But the point I want to make is that the NDC cannot act like ostriches. When they have shared, we saw the things they shared. They went to the coast, and what were they distributing? Pans and cardboard motors. President Mahama himself distributing those things. Oh yes,
you
2016.
You found that wrong.
Well, he saw it as a campaign too.
But you found that wrong.
Why will I find it as wrong? As long as he didn't steal it.
Was it right?
Wow, what was wrong with that?
So it was
supporting the local people with resources they need for their work. What is wrong with that?
So it was right.
Well, as for him, it was even a grant. It was free. He gave it free.
So it was right.
Well, I don't determine what is right or wrong. What I'm interested in is if it is legal. If it's allowed within the remit of the law, you're allowed to do it. As to how people will perceive it and decide on their vote, I cannot decide. I don't control that. The election will decide on Saturday when we go, and whoever wins, wins.
Okay.
If he's able to win, people will say, well, the people took it well. If he doesn't win, they will say, well, they didn't accept it. So the decision as to whether it is fair or right rests with the delegates. And they will determine. But the ostrich behavior of the NDC, that it is unfair, they have never heard it before. When they have shared I-10 and Land Cruisers and Prados in this country, they have shared laptops, pans, cardboard motor. What haven't you shared in this country? So even Bentua, we know of NDC and Bentua sharing in this country. So let us not make mountains out of molehills. What the man has done, he has indicated how he has acquired these things. And he said it is not for free. People are supposed to take them, run them commercially, and repay. And it is a way of helping them raise financial resources for the constituencies. Let's interrogate it, and let's be fair to the discussion, but not create an impression that what he has done has never ever happened. It's not true.
Okay,
right.
A quick reaction.
Very quick one. First and foremost, I am flabbergasted that my brother sitting here would advance the kind of argument he advanced and said that even if they give these buses, and he cited that certain places in the north, when people are sick, he used the word, they can beg. Listen, they can beg, and I noted it. Hold on, please.
What is wrong with that?
Can I finish? Hold on. But they can, look, this,
you have to beg.
So procuring ambulances for the purposes.
But why didn't you procure them?
Can I finish?
You had the opportunity to procure the ambulance.
This shouting won't help your cause. I'm saying that procuring ambulances for the purposes of helping to convey the sick from their communities or homes to the hospital.
So why did
it's completely different. You yourself, you just indicated that when we had the opportunity, we procure ambulances. Would you describe, please? We procured ambulances.
We procured ambulances.
John, it won't help your matter. John, listen to me. You see, when you do this, it exposes you the more. You see that we procure ambulances, that we spend about $90 million in procuring ambulances, which you describe as not effective and efficient.
Hold
on, can I? Oh, my brother, I'm here with you. You have a responsibility as a government. And stop this. You know, they are still talking as if they are in opposition. You are in government. If you think, listen, you are in government. By the way, the monies that is being spent on this, perhaps it will take care of your.
Is it government money?
Hold on. It will take care of your invisible one district, one factory, which you sat on camera and lied that you have provided. That cannot be found. You lied. If you sat on TV and lied, not a single one could be identified. I'm saying that man was wrong. And by the way, it's a lie. No. And by the way, you are lying. By the way, the 275. He sits here and he's telling me.
I am not like that. I will lie.
You are caught down.
But I'm not like that. I will lie. So
come here. Hold on. I think he wants to react to your.
Yes, let me react to it.
Yeah. The 19 factory.
I'm lying. I'm not a liar like him. I'm not like the NDC.
Please hold on.
Even project artistic impression of projects as if they have done. Now I have told you on my website, on Facebook, I've put the video there of the program that I attended, the launch of the 19th factory, and it is there. I don't know if your people will do me a favor to show the video to the propagandist NDC. It is here. Lanti. This is the commissioner.
Which one?
The 19th factory is here.
Factories?
It's here. Lanti. So if your people will do me the honors to show it. So me, I will never lie. I'm not like the NDC.
Please hold on.
And let me tell you, I have followed. Take the video and please show it to him and all the NDC. And I have taken the pains to follow up to Exim Bank and to some of the private banks who are involved in this one district, one factory. And they said that the 19 is even understated. At the moment, we are doing about 34 according to Eisenberg, and I have the document. So don't be in a rush. Let them make all their propaganda. Please, if you can even do me a favor to show
we'll take the video and play. But you see,
this is the commissioning.
I want us to clarify this.
Why? The video to you as see you are lying. See your face.
Please
see your lying face.
Please
this is the video.
John, I want us to clarify.
If you could show it.
The last time you were here,
yes,
it was 19.
Yes.
The key question was this: was it a 19 that is functioning today?
Yes.
You are saying 34.
According to Exim Bank at different stages.
But you have not seen the 34, but you know of the 19.
Why should I see all the 34?
Okay.
We work with institutions who are responsible for these things. And I will not sit here and lie like the NDC. This is the video. This is the 19th one I attended. And in any case...
Which one was the 18th?
Well, I didn't attend the 18th. I said I attended the 19th. And look, the records are there. They have even published the locations.
Where?
So if you don't know, go and check.
Tell the viewing public.
If you don't know, go and check. Stop all these unnecessary...
Tell the viewing public.
Please, I want us to make progress.
John, this is the video.
Quickly before we go.
Yes.
I know we have digressed, but let's clear this.
But that's what they always do. This is it.
We'll take the video. No, we'll take the video and play.
Thank you.
We can play. The key question is that when you were here, please allow me. When you were here, you said 19. I think the next year or so, the trade minister was in parliament and he didn't know how many were out. Is it a matter of information that is not out?
Exactly, and I've spoken to that matter. Okay. Seriously, according to Exim Bank at different stages, and I have the record. It's not like just speaking. They have given me the documents. If he wants a discussion on 1D, 1F, let's have a time and come.
But
you
be embarrassed.
Okay. Yes, let me be embarrassed. You cannot embarrass me. You can never embarrass me. You come here and lie.
Gentlemen, I am grateful. Let's move on. I think that has been cleared.
I'm coming. He's throwing a challenge.
Okay, we'll find time.
Find time. Bring he and I on 1D, 1F. It is not about lies.
I don't want you to be exposed the more.
What kind of exposure?
Okay, gentlemen, let me move on.
Please.
Let me move on.
Stop this unnecessary provocation.
Let me move on. Let's go to the finder this morning.
I will never be caught lying like you.
John, please, let's move on. Now, the Court of Appeal has unanimously dismissed an application for the stay of execution filed by the NCA to nullify an injunction secured by Suba Info Solutions. The court awarded the cost of $2,000 against the regulator. Now, the 3 appeal court judges who dismissed the application, Justice K. Akwe, Justice Tanko Amadou, Justice Barbara Akayensu, they are the 3. Now, the injunction against NCNGRA from awarding the contract to any third party pending the final determination of the suit. So that was Suba's, one of the reliefs Suba was asking for, that the contract be suspended until the case was determined. So the court has agreed, and so that's so far what's up from that story. Court ordering the Kelnick GVG contract to be suspended until the substantive case Suba has is dealt with. Honorable Comrade Murtala Mohammed, now this issue.
Comrade Murtala.
Okay, Comrade Murtala Mohammed. This issue,
of course, people who believe in artistic impression as achievement don't deserve honorable title.
I don't need it.
You don't
very
deserve
exciting.
it. I don't want to share it with the rest of Canada,
Japan. The coalition of civil society organizations simply will be. Gentlemen, can we make progress? How does this come to us now that the court has ruled that let's hold on this until we deal with the substantive issue?
Well, I have said, and I'll say it again, I foresee one day the Minister for Communication and her deputy being prosecuted, possibly convicted and jailed. They have been engaged in such scandalous contracts. Now, you see, when we had the Google app thing, and I'm making this because I want to tie it with what happened in court on this matter. When we had the Google, when they spent $2.5 million in buying a Google app, you had the minister who said publicly that Ghana was going to be paying $400,000 every year to Google. And the deputy minister came out and said, no, we're not going to pay anything. I was on Joy FM, and the Minister for Information, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, called onto the program. And when I stated this, he was asked directly, and he said what the deputy minister said was right, and not what the minister said. The last time I checked, that every deputy minister, you work virtually at the behests of the minister. In this same case in court, you have the lawyer of the NCA, of course, Ministry of Communication, who said that they needed 6 months to be able to provide the court with all the necessary documents. You had the deputy minister who stood up and said they could provide the contract within 2 to 4 days. I mean, so sometimes I wonder who is in charge at the ministry and as to whether there isn't coordination between these two. My position on this fraud has been consistent.
It's an alleged
It's a fraud, and I'll tell you why.
It's not going to.
Oh, well, fine. I think it's a fraud. I think it's a fraud. If you consider it to be alleged fraud, fine. It ought to be determined. When I was in Parliament, and we had initially the contract with Suba, and Afrowave came, I was opposed to Afrowave contract. I was opposed because I felt that the NCA capacity needed to be built to handle this activity. That was my position. And you can check at the Finance Committee, despite the fact that that contract was brought under my government, I have been consistent on the matter. Today, the argument that is being made by this super incompetent and super corrupt government is that, yes, we are saving this nation, that we are paying $2.5 million to both Afrowave and Suba. We are bringing in a new company, and we are abrogating this contract, or we are not renewing this contract, and we'll be paying $1.5 million for no work done. My position is still consistent, that both Afrowave and Suba, which I oppose, I strongly oppose this because it's needless. Build the capacity, and by now, the capacity of NCA has been built, that you don't need to spend $1.5 million for people to do what this indeed institution can do. Now, the other argument that is being made is that no, we are saving the nation. Now, if you look at the contract, it's preposterous that a government that claims to be protecting the public purse would enter into a contract. Whether they deliver or not, we pay $1.5 million to them every month. And in fact, in the event of their inability to deliver, per the contractual agreement, and we want to even abrogate the contract, we'll pay them almost or more than half of the entire contract sum. If this is not robbery, then I'll be glad to know what constitutes robbery. Yet this government would tell us that they protect the public purse. Look, it is amazing the kind of calls that they have been able to and what they have saved this nation, that those companies can't do that. How difficult is it to make available a contract document when you have the same government that made available a bilateral arrangement, a security bilateral arrangement with the United States of America? Yet they found it extremely difficult to make contract document available. Look, I am resisting the temptation to say certain things. I do know. A friend of mine wrote an article on this, and someone called him, virtually threatened him. Dr. Mawia Zakaria wrote an article. We have the contact and it was recorded. So I'm saying that these are the kinds of people who have the audacity to tell people about corruption. This is absolute robbery, and it is known to everybody that this thing stinks. It's smelling. Like when they say something is smelling, that is the kind of arrangement. Now, what is the rush? Now, do you know that they are going to be operating from the premises of NCA? The extent to which you have some board members raising objections and even resigning as a result of this stinky, filthy contract that this government is taking the people of Ghana into. Find out from this Kelly GVG, what have they been able to deliver? And how much have we paid to them so far? Now, even with with this ruling, that this thing is temporarily halted, we will be paying $1.5 million to these people.
Even whilst the contract is halted by the court?
$1.5 million. That is how much you'll be paying. Now, in the event of they not being able to deliver, we will pay more than half of the contract sum. This is not the first time this company is operating in Ghana. They have operated here and failed woefully. They have operated in Senegal, and there are serious question marks. They have operated in many countries. Everywhere they go to operate, it stinks. Yet these people think that we should. The faces behind it to stop pretending. And I'm saying that the Minister for Communication and the Deputy, they should watch out. I have no doubt in mind that if nothing is done about this, I foresee them being prosecuted and hopefully convicted and jailed for this outright robbery that this government and this ministry is entangling the people of this country.
We'll leave the court to determine that. Comrade, I'm grateful. John, so the court has spoken that let's suspend the contract and until the substantive issue is resolved. Perhaps there is more that we need to know about this whole Kennedy VG thing.
First of all, when matters are in court and we are speaking to it, we have to be a bit restrained.
What did I say?
So he's not mentioning your name.
No, but when he's tried to,
no, I know what. But he knows he has used very bad words this morning, like on this matter. Like what? This thinking. This
yes, it's filth. I mean,
so you have already determined the outcome of the court case,
which outcome?
Right?
Which court
That's
case?
the matter before the court.
Which I am talking about.
So look, your brother. I can only sound cautious.
Please allow
you can't intimidate me with this.
I am not going to intimidate you.
I know what constitutes content. Okay, don't even go there.
Okay.
Allow John.
I will not go to the extent that he's going. First of all, I understand the implications of it. I will not do that.
So who doesn't understand?
If you understand and you want to jeopardize your own liberty, that's your own matter.
Your microphone.
That's your own liberty you are jeopardizing with.
So, very nice conversation.
Murtala, will you sit down quietly? You are a bigger joke. Please, sit down quietly and listen to wisdom.
John,
stop this behavior. Listen to wobbling wisdom, but listen to it.
John, please go ahead.
So clearly, once the matter is before the court, I would rather speak to the legality of it. As for his premonition of somebody being prosecuted, he is sitting here and telling us that the NDC, they signed this same contract. $2.6 million was paid monthly.
It was 2010.
2010, right? Paid monthly. And they have not been prosecuted. They've not been arrested. They are working as free people. Maybe a word to the wise. The special prosecutor should be listening.
About me. I said
so,
my position
and he said he was against it.
But why?
So talk about me.
If you are against it, and so what? You were part of the government. You were a deputy minister.
I'm here discussing
so
my
they should be calling you right now and be dealing with you properly.
Dealing with who?
Yourself, by your own words. But you see, when I put all those
Yours
propaganda aside, Murtala, keep quiet. So when I put all that, I don't know why he can't take simple contribution. When you were speaking, I was here. So when you put all the propaganda aside and then you want to look at the legality, you see, we are a democratic society. And one good thing that we have is that as a country, when we disagree, we don't pick guns and cutlasses. We go to the appropriate forum for final determination to be made. Even on controversial matters and emotional matters like election results, we are able to wait, the courts pronounce, and we all abide by them. So I don't see why we should run. The matter is before the appropriate forum. The courts have given their decision. The High Court put an injunction. It was appealed against. The court have refused the appeal. It's not the end of it. It means that I have seen matters where you have lost a High Court, you lose Court of Appeal, and you go to Supreme Court and you win. So I do not see the difficulty in already jumping to conclusion that because a mere injunction has been put, which is just a temporary injunction on a matter before the courts. Of course, it allows the court a lot of room to do a lot of things. Because of that, you start to give all kinds of names to the contract because a mere temporary injunction has been put on an issue. That's why I'm saying he should tread cautiously. Okay. Don't speak to the outcome of the matter because it is not yet the finality of the case.
All right, we'll be talking more about the NPP Congress. But no. I'm not giving you quickly. This one, residents of Nsawam are up and angry. It's about a land that they claim has been given to carry them by some people. It's a very dicey issue. But we'll be talking more about the NPP Congress later on. But comment just 30 seconds about this. The people of Nsawam are angry about the land. Carrydem Development Company Limited, owned by former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings. They're asking that the land be returned to them if government is not in need of the land, instead of giving it to a private person. I have run out of time, but quickly on this one. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. I want to believe former President Rawlings is unaware of this land grabbing thing, because based on the position of his consistency on probity and accountability, I believe he would have problems with this, and I expect a condemnation of what the wife is engaged in. But it is not only this. The question we must ask ourselves is that how did she procure those land? Was it in the name of 31st? Yes, it was in the name of 31st, which was an NGO which had board of trustees. Now, how suddenly that those properties, including GNTC properties, have become the personal properties of the former First Lady? And I think that these are some of the issues that people must ask. Must ask that how. I know that certain members of the 31st actually took the former First Lady to court. Yes, on other issues. I do know that there were some funds that we used to get. In fact, those Chinese funds were used to build the National Theatre, the Kroba Market. I do know that the 31st indeed applied for that in 2000. Okay. And the Chinese said that they were not given such funds to private entities. And I do know how those things were procured. Is it a question that the position, is it a question that the position taken now by the former First Lady and our founder has to do with this land grabbing syndicate? I think that it is embarrassing, it is shameful, and we need to interrogate all the proper. Unfortunately, you the media, you are not interested in those properties that were owned by GNTC that are now owned by the former First Lady. The people are asking that if government doesn't need the land, it should just.
These are poor people who need their land.
They said they need their land instead of giving it to a private entity.
Obviously, the concerns of the people are very important. We have to listen to them. And we are a nation of laws. That's what I always say. So let's resort to legal procedure to resolve all these matters. Right. I think there's a way out, and it's always important that we follow the procedures.
Okay, I'm grateful. John Kumar is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. Comrade behind Mutala Mohammed is a former MP for Nanton, former Trades and Industry Deputy Minister. My name is... Once again, stay with us, there's more coming up. Welcome back. The big day is over the weekend. The NPP National Delegates Conference is there in Kumasi. A lot more into it. We'll also have some conversation. Sorry, I said Kumasi. Getting too excited about the weekend's activity. It's Koforidua in the Eastern Region on Saturday, and we'll have conversations around it. We'll get the chairpersons who are vying to speak to. But this morning, we have one of the big positions that will be vied for, the National Youth Organizing position, a hot contest, a keen one. The strong men who are vying for that positions are with me here in the studio. I'll very soon let you see them. To my extreme left is Nana B. He doesn't need any other introduction. Just call him Nana B. That's his name. But I'll let him to mention his full name if you want his full name. Nana, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
Fantastic. I mean, it's
Thanks
been a long time.
I'm also good. Well. Thanks. I know you've been traveling across the country.
You've kept fit with the traditional tie.
My African tie.
Yeah, trust me. I mean, you're an icon in that.
I'm grateful. And he is vying for that position too. And then in the middle is Emmanuel Apia. He also mentioned his full name if you want it. He's also a known face. He's also be transversing the country to ask for your vote. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
Great.
Your campaigning has been good too.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us. And then he was a National Nasra coordinator. Now he decides to move one notch higher, contesting for National Youth Organizer position. Kamaldeen Abdullah is also here. Good morning too.
Good morning, Bright.
How are you doing? Great.
I'm great. I'm terrific.
The campaign has been tough.
The campaign has been cool and easy.
Okay. Welcome. We'll very soon step into, but we actually invited the last candidate. I'm sure you've seen the posters around. Dominic, we actually invited him to come for the conversation. He told us he would do a recording, and so we made every equipment set ready, but he couldn't make it to our studio. So that is why he is not here. Gentlemen, once again, welcome. Before you get to Koforidua on Saturday, let's start from you, Nana B. So why should we vote for you? The delegate that you've spoken to, why should they choose you as the National Youth Organizer?
Well, thank you very much, Bright. First of all, it is appropriate that I use this huge platform to extend warm greetings to the delegates, the constituency youth organizers and their deputies, TESCON presidents, regional youth organizers and their deputies, and then we also have a very strong representation or strong constituents in House of Parliament.
Right.
MPs below 40 years, they are also voting. And then Honorable MMDC is also below 14 years. They are also part of our electoral college. And then also diaspora youth organizers, they are deputies. Some are already in town. I spoke to, I think, Prince, Aaron. They are in town already. And so let me use this platform to wish them well. And yes, also extend my own greetings to my brothers, my colleagues here.
Your contestants.
For me, they've shown a lot of courage, like myself. And this is not the first time you're engaging. And it is fruitful. And it shows that indeed each and every one of us would want to lead a united youth front, not a fragmented youth front. And then to your question, it is important that when you want to vie for a particular position, you assess yourself. That is very important. You need to assess yourself. And again, you also need to assess the kind of work you have done.
You think you have done enough?
A lot of work. I started right from the polling station. I've been twice polling station chairman. I've been twice TESCON president. I've been a constituency communications officer before, regional communications team member. And I remember I was also leading Samia Oku's campaign for him in the year 2004 in Ashanti region and Brunhafo. And afterwards, Samia appointed me as director in charge of events and programs, member national communications team. And as part of the operations we did at the youth wing, we also came up with Movement for Change. It was a serious group, and then we organized most of these demonstrations that one way or the other contributed to the NDC's defeat, because we made sure that NDC would look very dishonorable in the eyes of Ghanaians. And for me, I cut my political teeth on the arena of youth activism and then communicating for the party. And I'm talking about over 10 years, over a decade. Over a decade. And then also, you consider the party's constitution. It was Article 14, now Article 15.
Right.
And clearly, it states the responsibilities of the national youth organizer. And you need to cultivate the interest of the youth towards the party before, after, during elections. You also need to fight, oppose any policy that militates against the development of the youth. You also need to make sure that you fight for issues that is based on the development of youth. For instance, education, unemployment, and stuff like that. And for me, I've assessed myself. I know I'm proactive. I know I'm a team player. I know I possess the required charisma to lead the youth.
And that is why they should vote for you.
I know I have the requisite advocacy skill, because you shall also be the chief advocate for the youth.
Okay, hold it there. Emmanuel, if Nana B has all this, why wouldn't you right now tell the delegates who are watching that, from what he just told us, I am stepping down so that delegates will vote for me?
Right. I wish to say this. You see, this election, it is not about slogans. It is about policies, you understand. When you read our constitution, the constitution makes it clear that the National Youth Organizer is responsible for formulation of policies and programs for the party. So all that my group and myself we thought of is this, that we want to bridge in the gap between the party people and the government. You
There's
understand?
a gap there.
There's a gap. There's a clear gap.
Youth and those at the top.
That is it. Not necessarily the youth, the party
itself.
And the government. You see, when you read the Constitution, Chapter 6 makes it clear, which talks about the directive principles of state policy, about the formation of political parties. And when you read even the Constitution as well, it makes it clear that out of the majority of ministers should come from Parliament. That clearly tells you that it is out of the party that gives birth to the government, you understand? But like we are confronted with issues, you go to our various offices, that is these MMDCs, the ministers, the first question you are confronted with is that whether or not you have an appointment with them. But the point is this, there's this notion which is going on within our body politics that some people brought the party to power. It has to be discarded. You understand? Collectively, we all brought the party into power. And the point is this, nobody took the party into opposition for somebody to bring the party to power. 3 days into my final exams at the law school, you understand, I was in the Volta region together with the Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Pius Enamajidi. Just imagine, in the run-up to the 2016 election, His Excellency the President of this Republic made it clear that he was going to give majority of these MMDCs appointees or appointment to constituency officers. And indeed, he did it. You understand it? But now, these same people call on us in our various offices. And the first question you are confronted with is whether or not you have an appointment.
That is where you want to change.
Yes. And one thing that I want to bring on board is that we want to bring all the 275 constituency youth organizers and their deputies to form something known as the Constituency Youth Committee. And the Constituency Youth Committee is going to compose, just like what I've said, compose of the 275 constituency youth organizers and their deputies. And they will serve as the advisory body or the advisory unit for the National Youth Organizer at the polling station level and the constituency level. Then we move on to the Regional Youth Council. The Regional Youth Council is going to compose of all the 10 regional youth organizers and their deputies, and likewise, let's say, playing the role of advisory unit or body for the National Youth Organizer at that level. Then we go to the National Youth Council. Uganda, they have done that. When you read their act, I think Act 319, it is there. They have a National Youth Council. So we also want to bring that thing on board, where we take 5 representatives each from the Constituency Youth Committee, 5 from the Regional Youth Council. Then we take 5 MPs below the age of 40 years. And they will compose of the constituency youth, the National Youth Council.
National Youth Council.
Yes. Then MPP is a party that believes in the principles of the rule of law. And we believe in the proper democracy, not any other democratic practices that we see in other political parties. So I am of the view that it is about time the TESCON people are made to elect their own regional coordinators. So all that I'm saying is that amongst the 10 regional coordinators, then they will choose the national TESCON president. And that national TESCON president is going to be the executive secretary to the National Youth Council. And you see, in all, we've touched bits and pieces of everything, and they will play the role. I don't want to
do the link.
Yes, I wouldn't want to say that. Or you see, during elections, that is where you see the National Youth Organizer and his team working. We want to touch base with the people from the word go. We go around and we see grassroots. Everybody is a grassroots person, but the point is, how are we treating the grassroots? I want to come in, change certain things in our political party, then MPP would have a better and a brighter future.
Well, I am grateful. Kamal, and so you have a huge challenge to counter what your contestant are saying.
Very interesting. Let me say very good morning to viewers, and I'll say very good morning to our party stalwarts who are watching us this morning, running from the Council of Elders to our various executives, from national to the polling station. I say ayiko to all of you for doing well in making sure that this party emanated from opposition to a party which is deemed or termed as a ruling party today. You all did your man's job. Let me also congratulate each and every party executive from the polling station, electoral area, constituency level to regional level. And now we are all supposed to gather in Koforidua, inshallah, from Friday to Saturday to elect our national executives. I say congratulations to all of you. Right. It's very interesting how people view the position national youth organizer of our great party, MPP. I mean, my good brother makes reference to, Emmanuel Pia, makes reference to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, when in fact, the election has to do with what? A political party's executives, which also has its constitution. I mean, the last time I checked, when you go into constitutional law, when there's a beef or there's a problem within the party, what the jurisdictions of the courts will resort to is the constitution of our party first. Now, as and when the provisions of our constitution seem to be conflicting with the mother law, which is the Ghanaian constitution, that is where they would have to say, put it aside and let's go to the mother law. In any case, the point I'm trying to make here is that by and large, we are supposed to concern ourselves primarily right now with the constitution of our party, not the chapter 6 of our Ghanaian constitution. Okay, for now, that is just for me to clear this out. Now, of course, it's just for us to have clarity. Now, my good brother Nana Boakye talks about charisma, talks about, if you like, what it takes to mobilize the youth, what it takes to lead the youth of this party.
That's threatened by
of course, no. Why? A national officer who has gone through an election, who is a national Nasara coordinator, who knows how the party actually operations went on. And for your knowledge, and for the knowledge of the people who are watching me today, in all humility, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party then, now the President of the Republic of Ghana, saw good in me and appointed me as a Deputy Director of Operation to the campaign in 2016 elections because I had what it takes. Saw good in my brother Sami Oku and appointed him as a Deputy Director to the campaign. Operation to the campaign, and saw good in our sister Afisa Otuko Jaba to become the Deputy Director of Operation of the party or of the campaign as well. So clearly, we all worked under our own national organizer, now vying to become the General Secretary, who is in the person of John Boydu, who was our Director of Operation. Today, job well executed. My good brother says we shouldn't say that some executives brought the party to power. I disagree with him. Supervision is important in all spheres. Wherever you go, you need supervision. If you do not have supervision, then you will not have a policy direction. You will not have a strategic direction or a scheme of, if you like, a direction in terms of your scheme as to who directs who says you should do what, who says you should implement what. You see, 275 constituencies in this country. Right. You are seeking to be the national youth organizer. Tell me the 57 constituencies in the north. Tell me the 26 in the Volta region, making it 83. Tell me out of the 29 in the Brong-Ahafo region, the 14 which are also more or less a settler community. Tell me that when you come to Ashanti region, we are talking about 47 constituencies, and then run down to Eastern region and so on and so forth to the Western region and all that. What you need to do is to ensure that you as a national youth organizer, you embark on what we call a solid mobilization drive to ensure that the support base of the party is large and is stronger. And that was what we did prior to the 2016 election as a deputy director of operation, and we succeeded. I am saying that inshallah, when Kamal Dean is elected as a national youth organizer, that mobilization drive, that youth drive, that bringing people together, making the party attractive in every area that you find this party will be my hallmark. That is final. Look, right, you go to the areas where we call the orphan constituencies, like and the deprived constituencies, I'll tell you, the party sometimes is a bit lagging behind because people there feel that the party, as it were, doesn't reach out more. What do I bring on board? Even before I become the national youth organizer, I can tell you every single constituency in these deprived areas, the dynamics that prevails there, and why we need to empower the youth organizer who is there. For example, when you take Tatale, for example, Tatale, you realize that Maximilian, who is a youth organizer, is struggling. What can we do to empower him? How can he get the youth groups there come to support this party? When you move to Willensi, where Musa is there, what can Musa do? When you move to Pandai, where Joseph is there, what can Joseph do? When you come to the Volta region, for example, Whole West, where Wisdom is the youth organizer, what can Wisdom do and bring on board? What empowerment am I going to give?
That's what you're going to do.
Listen,
empower the people
clearly,
who are the leaders in the constituencies.
This is party work, and party work is about mobilization. Party work is about ensuring that indeed you come out and formulate policies that, of course, will move towards the youth. Let me tell you, when I was made the Nasara coordinator, I said to myself, what can we do? What can I bring on board that would make Nasara Wing attractive? Clearly, political communication was not missing. I had to resort to it and ensure that we project the Nasara in the media. I had to also get down to the people, know what they want, gather the intel, and advise my team that, look, flag bearer, this is what we have to do, tailor towards the Zongos, and make sure we win power. And lo and behold, we were able to get about 42% of the minority votes this time. That gave us 1.5 million difference vote between us and NDC. Inshallah, when I become the youth organizer, mobilization and other ideas that will bring on board will be like never before.
Kamal, I'm grateful. Emmanuel, he thinks that you should rather concentrate on the party's constitution instead of talking about the national.
I'm only saying, it's only fair. I did make mention of the party's constitution, where I said that the national youth organizer is responsible for the formulation of programs and what policies of our people or of the youth. That is how come I brought in these policies. In his submission, I never heard of any policy direction or anything that he did make mention of. Another thing that he did say was that we only resort to our party's constitution, and where there is a breach of it, that is where
the national constitution.
But you see, every constitution, it is subject to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. I said so. You understand? And the one thing that I also want to tell you is that you cannot oust the jurisdiction of any court or oust the jurisdiction of your constitution if it borders on fundamental human rights. Then you say that, okay, fine, that I want to resort to my party's constitution. And indeed, it is out of the Ghanaian constitution that gave birth to the NPP constitution. You understand? Like I did say, we are talking of policies. I have made mention of policies. You get one other thing that I think I have to bring on board. That is, you see the way Kamal is looking at me. When I launched my manifesto at Aliza Hotel on the 17th of June, I did make mention of the fact that, you see, MPP as a political party, why can't we own certain projects onto ourselves? Like I was thinking of forming this thing known as the patriotic drinking mineral water. And the patriotic drinking mineral water, you see, out of that, proceeds will be generated by way of taxes to the central government to develop the country. And the TESCON or the youth wing,
people employed.
Yes, the youth wing would also get money. At least then we'll use it to fund our project. We are all going to Koforidua today, tomorrow, till Sunday. All these mineral water that we are going to buy. Ask yourself this.
It should have been patriotic mineral water.
Why not? Ask yourself whether they've sponsored any part of our programs. So NPP as a political party, it is about time we own this project onto ourselves.
To fund your activity.
That is it.
Let me go to Nanabi. Nanabi, and so the key thing is, what policies can you bring on board to improve the party's fortunes? And the two have said a lot.
On the issue of constitutional law, I'll beg my senior brother, Kamau, that he should really make sure that he advances
his argument
well, because you see, for me, he is my senior, but I'm his senior in the law. He is now having some diploma, and this month is also his senior. But I'm making a point because he made reference to our constitution, and every single constitution will be crafted in tandem, the provisions with the 1992 constitution. No, yes. So when the person makes reference, and you see, and there are provisions in the 1992 constitution which talks about party organization.
Sure. That's chapter 6.
Read article, yes, chapter 6, yes, and then yes, article 55 going to tell you some provisions. So if the person is advancing his argument, or he has premised his argument on the party's constitution, but then he moves a notch up
to the national constitution.
It is firmly in place. I mean, he was saying that.
This
is just a little education, at least from his seniors. From his seniors in the legal fraternity.
All right.
He is now coming out. Yes. Then again, when he was talking, he kept mentioning mobilization, and it kept
and you can't take that away from him.
Do you know what? He never even mentioned the solution. If indeed you are saying that there is lack. For me, this is my manifesto. I've stated, I said, at the National Youth Wing, we will establish what I call logistics, mobilization, and resource unit, where you have people to man that unit. So you cannot just be mentioning mobilization, and then you leave it there.
Because mobilizing.
Do you know what? Do you know what? Because I was director in charge of event and programs, Samia Okun-led administration did so well. But because we're in opposition, most of the things we did were on ad hoc basis. You have this program here, then you need to struggle, get support for it, and that is it. You need a clearly defined center or unit operating under the National Youth Wing. And that is what to coordinate it. So that the Logistics, Mobilization and Resource Center will connect up right from the polling station to the constituency level, to the regional level, and to the national level. So you cannot just keep mentioning mobilization. And he kept mentioning,
I'll get you, but allow him. Nana, please go. He's getting ready to wrap up.
Yes. No, I'm not wrapping up now.
Okay. You go ahead. We don't have a lot of time.
So you see, for us, I'm talking about my team. We came up with this manifesto because this is signed. This is the covenant between myself and the youth. And I've said that we need to consolidate the gains we made in election 2016.
And how do you do that?
And that is why I have outlined all of that. Yes, and it is a powerful tool for retaining political power in election 2020 and beyond. Quite apart from the Logistics, Mobilization and Resource Center, my team, we did a research. There are some 20 constituencies, I call it Operation Orphan Constituencies, GRAB 2020. There are some 20 constituencies. If you conduct your analysis well, you realize that there are constituencies we can easily grab with hard work, with mobilization. Purposefulness is very important. Again, I've even said that for every political party to succeed, you need to win elections. That is a core mandate. Now, there are two things. His Excellency the President introduced free SHS. Brilliant idea. By election 2020, we would have had 1.2 million young people benefiting from this. And I always say that every good policy of every political party should culminate into political fortunes for that political party. So if we have implemented such a flagship, fantastic, buoyant policy, then it is incumbent on us, the youth, to plug these 1.2 million votes. We need to tell the young people that it was under His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, after he had been ridiculed, insulted, poo-pooed, he brought free SHS, and you are beneficiaries of it. So show appreciation And that is why, again, we will bring in the TESCON people to handle this. Again, you know that there's a High Court ruling that ROPA,
right,
yes, should be implemented in election 2020. Look, there are close to about more than 1 million Ghanaians living abroad. And for even students, for us, I'm bringing it down to the youth wing. For students, per our research, we have close to about 300,000 or so students studying abroad. Now, what we need to do is that there's a vehicle in Ghana under the youth wing, which is called TESCON. And TESCON is the intellectual wing of the party. And TESCON is seeking to cultivate the interest of the party in our tertiary institutions. So if you have a student studying abroad and you are seeking for the person's vote, because there's a tendency for the person not to be interested in what is going down here, especially in terms of electoral processes here.
Okay.
So what we have to do is to replicate this same vehicle, the TESCON vehicle, in connection with our diaspora party, because we have a strong diaspora party. They have always been, that is why they are coming down to vote. We link up with them, we replicate TESCON. So for me, we are going to globalize TESCON. And this is what we talk about, targeting votes. That is the most important thing.
I am grateful. Kamal has the last bite, and then you guys will wrap up for me. Quickly.
I think the two of them are like-minded on the score of this constitutional argument that I did raise. Wait a minute.
Okay, quickly.
I needed to. You see, I never said anything different from what they said, except to say, wait a minute, listen to me, except to say that dwelling on the mother law of this country, which is the Constitution of Ghana, to say that, look, this is how I am going to operate as a national youth organizer. I said, primarily, I differ from it because primarily we do have a constitution governing the affairs of our party. The last time I checked, when there was an issue in court regarding operations of our party, the mother law of this country was not resorted to. What was resorted to by the judges in court had to do with our constitution. There's a constitution. Wait a minute. The constitution. Wait a minute. I'm coming. Let me make a point. Right. I want clarity. I want clarity. Let me get clarity on this. I never said anything different. And what I said was that yes, constitutions will prevail, laws will prevail, except to add that indeed the mother law is higher, and that where it is inconsistent, please let me land. Where it is inconsistent with what the provisions of the mother law, then we have a problem. Now listen to me. We are talking about somebody saying I'm talking about mobilization and mobilization. I was able to say that, look, or identify within my submission that manpower is of relevance and of significance to the mobilization of this country. This party. Clearly, if you know you have all officers round, and these officers ought to be used, that is the human resource of the party. You are supposed to empower them, which I spoke about. And I'm saying that as a national youth organizer, first and foremost, let's get our officers identified. Let's see how we can mobilize resources to support them to work. Let's see how we can change our policies. And clearly, I have said clearly that we administratively need to put this party in place. And when we do that, at the end of the day, you see, it's one thing playing with West. It's another thing making sense.
Okay, gentlemen, the delegates are watching. 275. Yes, yes, exactly.
It's important to commend my brother Kamal and yes, because
Emmanuel too.
No, it is very healthy.
Right.
It is very healthy and engaging.
We are wrapping up.
We are wrapping up. That it takes a courageous youth leader to engage the youth.
All right, I'm grateful.
It's very fruitful.
Nanabi, let me wrap up this conversation with you. Who should have an ambulance on standby on Saturday?
I think you should have an ambulance on standby.
You should have an ambulance on
standby. Let me get
for ambulance sake. I don't know of my other brothers.
Okay.
But the next time, God willing, I speak to you on this set, you will be talking to the national youth organizer of the New Patriotic Party.
Ima? Yes. Who should go into the ambulance on Saturday?
You see, the whole thing is this. the race for the National Youth Organizer, it is not a do or die affair for me. You understand? I am looking for the highest office of the land. Okay. For which reason I wouldn't want to disappoint any youth that I come in contact with. Yeah.
Really?
Why not?
So you not get it?
Yeah, I'm being honest with you. But let me make my.
Please allow him to wrap it up.
That is why I'm saying that. Oh, my brother, wait. Oh, Nana, just relax. That is why I'm saying that. It is not a do or die affair for me. Honestly. It is about time.
So that even if you lose, you're looking ahead.
But I'm coming. The point now is this. It is not about slogans. It is about policies. Okay. What we can be able to do for the youth of our party. Right. That is what we are talking of. Okay. It is not about slogans and what.
Come on, wrap up. 10 seconds.
Well.
You are not going in.
Who is coming there with an ambulance on standby? That I will say that indeed we are all in this race and we are all capable, we are all competent. Trust me, the delegates who are supposed to vote in that category would come out with someone who indeed will be ready and poised to mobilize the youth of our party like never before. And I say it's going to be Kamaldeen. It's going to be Kamaldeen, and trust me, no, Nanabi, you're the first to do that. And I'm saying that vote Kamaldeen. Number 2, vote right. Vote Kamaldeen. Number 2 on the ballot. Number 2 on the ballot. You are going to have a solid national.
All right, gentlemen, I am grateful.
The Trinity, that is God the Father, God the Son, God the
very engaged.
I am number 3 on the ballot.
Okay.
Right, I said number 1. Right.
All right, so the Nabi is number 1, Emmanuel is number 3, and Kamaldeen is number 2 on your ballot. Have a wonderful Congress on Saturday. The gentlemen are vying for National Youth Organizers. Be with them. Stay with us. We have sports after this.
So the newest thing to have hit the digital space from MG is 3Extra. And I have Emmanuel Japon, Head of Production and Photography at Media General Digital, to tell us more about that. So Emmanuel, hello. 3Extra, what are we to see on the digital space when we talk about 3Extra?
Well, 3Extra is going to be a new platform on YouTube from us, where we'll be showing, we have original content that we've created ourselves, things from sports to entertainment to relationships, where we have everything on YouTube right now. And we're also thinking of putting old throwback content on YouTube. So stuff from like 20 years ago, like old Gold Blast episodes. You know, you would find some of them on our platform where you can watch. So that's what we're trying to do with 3Extra. It's just going to be something. It's a fun extension of TV3, of Media General. So that's the main idea. Okay, so for people who are not technology savvy, how do I get in contact with 3Extra? How do I access it? Well, you go on YouTube, you type youtube.com, or if you already have the app, just search for 3XTRA, and it will come up. And when you click it, all our videos are there. We currently have some videos, but the thing is that we have a schedule where we'll be rolling out some content out there every month, every week, every other day. So you just need to know which one is meant for you, right. and you can subscribe to the channel and watch it. But why that idea, 3Extra, and why now? Well, the thing is that there's this gap when it comes to content on YouTube for the Ghanaian audience. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you're looking for something specific to, let's say, America or to Europe, maybe a relationship show, you know, you'd easily find something like that. But for people outside Ghana, you would find that for them. But there's barely anything like that for us. So 3Extra is sort of filling that gap when it comes to content for Ghanaian audiences on the internet, on YouTube. Very well. So that's what 3Extra has for us. But any more from the digital, Media General Digital for us? Well, yeah, we are trying to put out a lot of content. I don't want to give away so much right now, but by September we are bringing something back. I don't want to say that now, but I'll come back on to talk about it. By September, we're bringing something really big, something that has been there for a while. We're going to be bringing that back, and this will be the first place that we're going to talk about it.
Very well. So you heard it right from here from Emmanuel Ejapon, the head of production and photography at Media General Digital, and they promise you something exciting and something meant for you on 3 Extra. So make sure you look for it on YouTube. It's very easy. Just get a phone, get internet, access it, and you see the interesting stuff they've put out there for you. Final words from you?
I'd like to say that people should go to YouTube and subscribe, because it's the only way you would know when we have new content on there. And there's literally every kind of content for everybody. There's, if you're a sports head, there's sports. If you're an entertainment person, there's entertainment, tech, everything there for you. So you just need to subscribe, and when we post stuff on there, you're going to get notifications directly to go watch them.
Great. So all of us are going to look out for 3 Extra and subscribe. That is the word. Make sure you're subscribing to it so you get notifications. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on Newday.
So much for staying there. Now let's continue the Koforidua battle this weekend, and let you know that we earlier spoke to the National Youth Organizer aspirant. Now the chairpersons who are vying to lead the party, the NPP, the people from their camps are here. Richard Nyama is from the camp of Mr. Blay, and Kofi Kapito from the camp of Mr. Stephen Itim. Good morning, gentlemen. Grateful for your time.
Thank you. Good morning, but your introduction is so divisive.
Yeah, no.
Camp. Oh, but as if we are fighting.
No, you're not fighting, but certainly you are not from his camp. He has a camp, you have a camp.
No, the camp thing is the meaning.
Okay.
You will start fighting me in a minute.
Sometimes it depends on what the people in the camp do.
You will start fighting me in a minute.
It should be an exciting contest on Saturday. What are the expectations from your camp?
Oh, it's virtually a no contest. You can hear them. All they are doing is whinging, complaining.
So Kofi has a towel already to throw in before the contest starts?
They organized a press conference and threw in the towel. If you have a national chairman aspirant, organize a press conference, and instead of touting what his vision is, what he's going to do, and to change the fortunes of the party, the crux of his event, the ultimate conference to address the nation, he's rather talking about his opponent buying votes. It tells you he's incapacitated. He's run out of ideas. He hasn't got any ideas that he thinks the voters would look at, weigh, and vote for him. So he's crying wolf.
I see.
That's what is happening. Seriously, all that came out of Mr. Intim's press conference yesterday,
the final one,
wasn't about what he's going to do, but what Freddie Blay is doing. And for me, that is a sign of a defeat already. If I organize a press conference, I should be talking about myself, not my opponent.
But if he feels intimidated in a way, shouldn't he talk about it?
Yeah, if he feels, if before you go into the boxing ring, you are intimidated, it's a sign of defeat. That's all I'm saying.
Doesn't mean an unfair contest?
Unfair? How? You could have done the same. If you have the idea, you are capable, you are experienced, you're matured, you've got all those attributes. You have the contacts.
I see.
Put something similar. You see, politics is about ideas. When you put very good ideas together, then you give the people a choice. But when you come out saying that my opponent's idea is too superior and it is actually luring the voters to his side, and it's unfair, because if he had done that the previous years, you would not have a problem with it. Forgetting that the previous years he was preoccupied with bringing you to power. He has successfully brought you to power. In the previous years, we were actually busy boxing each other. We were beating each other, fighting each other, to the extent that the NDC government had the party office cordoned off, party activities ceased. Finally, the party sat down and took some decision, gave him the acting position. He took it up and steered the party peacefully. Seriously, I'm sure I was on the program here with you, and you asked me, with all this infighting, I don't see the NPP winning elections, and I disputed you. Freddie Blay took over, and to date, you don't hear any infighting in the NPP.
So that is
so he took
card.
it.
That is his trump card.
Obviously,
he stabilized the NPP.
That is his nature. The man is a very humble man, very nice man. He interacts with everybody nicely. You go to his house, it is like an emergency ward. People are lined up to see him. His bedroom. Party people enter his bedroom.
To
I'm
talk to
telling you,
him.
to talk to him. They eat with him on his dining table. I would invite my brother
to come
and have an experience.
I
and
see
the
Kofi
feel of the
smiling.
man. Yeah.
Kofi, so Richard is suggesting that press conference, the final one, was indeed a show that you had lost the contest.
You know what, this book, I'll give him one anyway, because they don't have one. You also have one.
Okay.
Stephen Tim has taught all the 275 constituencies. Every delegate, everybody that matters, has one of this book. Okay. Wednesday was to show their propaganda, expose them, to let them know that MPP is not for sale. It's not for sale in a simple reason that you cannot use this to come and deceive the delegates. Look, let me tell you what. MPP frowns on, or actually admire, loyalty,
right,
commitment, contributions, all the good things that one shows. And if you have done that, I mean, is it necessary for you to put your name and say that I'm bringing buses? Not that it's a bad idea.
You said you could have done.
No, what I'm saying is, it's not a bad idea. And it's not buses. You see, this is what I tell people. If anything that carries more people and you call it a bus, if you say you've brought passenger vans, I agree with you, and it is good. Even a Tico is a vehicle. A Tico is a vehicle, and I would have loved even that he brought the Ticos. Richard himself was saying that, oh, we've taken delivery of 100 buses now, which is good. I don't know whether it was 100, but he, being the person in charge, if he says so, I believe him.
With integrity.
No, that's why I say, oh, you
believe you, yes.
I'm not doubting you. But the question is, I know how to go to a manufacturer of a vehicle to other vehicles. Okay, if you're ordering from Shrek, unless you bought it from a dealership. If you buy from a dealership, but if you're buying 200 and something buses, you don't go to a dealer. Okay, so what I'm saying is, the delivery, it is your turn. You should tell the person, I want the car, because you have arranged delivery and everything. If you are telling me that because of logistics and the vessel could not accommodate all 275, what is the capacity of a ship? They bring hundreds of containers.
So you don't believe all 275 will come?
Well, you know what? Saturday, we go to Koforidua.
What is Mr. Tim bringing on board? He's suggesting that Mr. Tim isn't bringing so much on board.
Like
what? Is he bringing on board?
Like what? Bribing people with cars?
Well, he said it's not bribing. He's working for it.
Okay, fine. So let's even say working for it. Apart from that, what is he bringing? Stephen Tim was very, very instrumental in the settler communities. During the last election, he was part of the team that brought a lot of these settler communities that has been a challenge for MPP. Look, I'm not going to say that Mr. Blade did not play a part in the campaign, but I have a worry when they make it look like it was only him. What about him? What about me? What about the person in your village who woke up 5 o'clock in the morning to go and stand in a queue and vote so that the MPP, the most hard-working person in MPP as of the last campaign, I would say was the president of Ghana.
So loyalty is key in this election.
Key in this thing.
He's been there.
Loyalty. No, he's been there since 1992. He's been a first vice. Let me finish.
Richard, I'm coming to
you.
He take his I'm coming to you. Richard, I'm coming to you. Richard, I'm coming to you. Richard, I'm coming to you.
You're talking about party card. Your candidate.
I'm asking you, when did he acquire his party membership?
Richard, I am coming to you.
No, he is talking about since 1992. I want him to be very specific. Since when did he take his party card?
Richard, I am coming to you. Could you please wrap up?
You should answer that question.
You see, in terms of dates, then his candidate does not even come in at all. In terms of when somebody takes a party card, then your candidate doesn't come in at all.
We need to get there. We need to get there because it is a major campaign.
Somebody that has been a first vice before.
Yes.
Stephen Tim.
Yeah.
How do you doubt it when he took a membership
Richard, it's loyalty not key in this.
The man has stood. The man has stood.
I want to know what Kofi.
The man has stood. 3 times already.
Right. Yes. This is the 4th time.
This is the 4th time. You think the man didn't have a card they were lying to?
And,
it is part of the vetting.
And the mantra,
it is part of the vetting. No, I'm just saying it is part of the vetting. So don't go there. Tell me when
the mantra by Kofi and Intim is that we should reward failure. He has been failing.
It's loyalty not key.
He has been failing. He has been
loyalty not key.
He has been losing. He has lost 3 times. This is the 4th time because he has been seriously losing.
The president.
We should reward him.
Listen to him.
The current president. He's gone through before. So losing
you see, the president and Intim cannot be matched.
I agree.
Let me let you know.
The president. I agree.
You know what? The president, through his campaign, okay, and all that he did for the party over the years, the party grassroots loved him to the high heavens. So there was nobody who could have uprooted Akufo-Addo at any point in time.
You're suggesting delegates
and
don't
you know what?
Mr. Team.
Go and look at the records.
Without your bribing.
Go and look at so now you are saying that you will lose. That you will lose. But you are losing to bribing and propaganda. That is fine.
What I want you to understand is
the point is that the guys are preparing for defeat.
The delegates are not deciding.
On
Sunday, the delegates will tell you that you know what?
On Sunday, you'll be on this program. I hope on Monday you bring it.
If you win,
and then I can tell you, I will predict that Kofi will say on this program.
Gentlemen, I am grateful.
It was a passes. That changed the results in our favor.
Let me explain.
We'll continue the conversation on Saturday right here, and TV3 will be there throughout the conference. Gentlemen, I'm grateful. Kofi Kapito, Richard Yama are from Mr. Blay and team. Saturday is the day all roads lead to Gofroidia, and we'll be there live on TV3 and all other platforms. Grateful for your Thursday morning. Have a great day. See you tomorrow morning.